coziest bed ever with the Joan Lea Show. Thanks to Harvey Norman. 98 FM.
Welcome back, yes, with thanks to Harvey Norman. Your sleep specialist now. We are talking about the fact that Imran Khan, who is a human rights lawyer, said he's genuinely shocked at the lack of progress on prevention of racism in Ireland. He said he criticised the government's failure to deal with international anti-racism treaties and said apart from laws on incitement to hatred, racism is not criminalised in Ireland, is not on the agenda at all, and was never considered an aggravating factor in sentencing. And we're talking about racial attacks, or are they? We're talking about the three cases that came up over the last couple of weeks. Martin Morgan, who was convicted of the brutal and frenzied murder of a Polish worker, a 17-year-old who got a suspended sentence for also jumping on and stabbing another Polish man in Fairview very recently, and a woman last week then who was charged with attacking a woman who was wearing a Muslim headscarf. Now, I know we've had texts in saying, look, you know, you have to be balanced, that there have been attacks on Irish people by foreigners over the last 10 years, but I'm just talking about, it seems to be kind of escalating here over a very short period of time. So I'm asking you, and we will take all that into consideration, do you believe these attacks are just pure acts of violence towards anyone? Do you think we've just, as a nation, we've become more violent, more willing to hit out at anyone? Or do you think the attacks are racially motivated? If you want to get into this, 1850 22 98 98, or text me at 53981, 53981. Hiya Joan, we're leaving the country in our droves, and I hope that we don't get treated as badly as they've been treated here. It's all the lower classes that are doing the attacks, as Brian. And Daniel, who was on, is from Poland, also had that kind of controversial view as well, that it is lower classes of people who are racist. Quite controversial thing to say, but he's saying it's lower class of people who are racist, he said, who really don't have a clue, and they're blaming any foreigner here for taking jobs, and that's where the attacks are coming from. James lives in an area in Kildare that has become known for being Polish, and he doesn't feel comfortable in the area anymore. He doesn't think that many of the Eastern Europeans are doing themselves any favours, as it's known in the area that the Poles don't want the Irish there anymore. He's confronted someone for not keeping to the rules of the estate, and his car was attacked. So there you go. So that's the other side of it. Lisa, hi, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
Hi.
What do you think, Lisa?
I don't think they're racially motivated at all.
Do you not?
No, I mean, in the case of the Polish worker who was going to work,
yeah.
I mean, I read about that, and the fella who initially attacked him asked him had he got a cigarette, and the Polish worker didn't answer him. Now, Polish people are white-skinned like Irish people, and if he didn't talk, there was no way of knowing that man was Polish. He could have been an Irishman for all the attacker now. He was just, to me, I think it was, I mean, it was 4 o'clock in the morning, was it, in an industrial estate, where there was 3 lads walking around with 2 girls, and they attacked just a random chap. I don't think they knew where he came from. He was just a person walking down the road.
And they were going to kill him. It's just...
Well, I'd say it was probably drug-induced.
It's horrendous, isn't it, though? It is horrendous.
It is horrendous, but that's the way it's gone. Yeah. But I think it has a lot to do with the recession. I mean, people are not walking anymore, and they're sitting around drinking and taking drugs, and that's just the way of the world. I mean, 5 people out walking around an industrial estate at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean...
What are they doing?
What are they doing? I mean, obviously, they had to be either drunk or on drugs. And they asked the chap for a cigarette. He didn't answer them, and they just got abusive with him. I mean, if he didn't speak to them, how were they to know whether he was Polish or Irish?
Well, I suppose we do, you know, we don't really know how it ended up, and you know whether they decided to take it to that lengths. You know,
that's what the paper said today. That, I mean, one of the girlfriends testified.
Yeah.
And she said that that's how it started. They were walking through the industrial estate. The Polish chap was walking up on his own. The youngest fella, I think, in the group asked him had he got a cigarette, and the man just kept his head down, and then he was attacked. So there was no way of knowing he was Polish, so it couldn't have been a racial.
Well, you can't say it couldn't have been, because if somebody then goes for you, you don't know what somebody, you're not going to just not say anything no matter what language you speak. You know what I mean? And then,
I understand.
You know, I mean, I would hate to think, look, it's awful. It is horrendous that that poor man lost his life, no matter where he's from. But I suppose this whole thing came up because when I was reading that story, when we were waiting for Martin Morgan to be sentenced, and he was convicted of murder, not manslaughter, he was convicted of murder. There were also two cases, a 17-year-old who also jumped on another Polish fella in Fairview, broke a bottle over his head, stabbed him in the head. I mean, madness. And another woman then in court the same day. A woman was crossing the road. She ran after her and grabbed her because she was wearing a headscarf. She just went mad with her. It's just...
No, that story is not because she was wearing a headscarf. That story is because she had a phone in her hands. And it just brings you back to the recession again, where obviously a girl seen a woman walking by with a phone in her hand and just decided she wanted her phone. I honest to God don't think it's anything to do with racism. It's just recession. People have no money anymore. I mean, crime's just gone up everywhere. You know,
well, then we've just become so. I mean, I hope that they're not racist attacks. Do you know what I'm saying? And I
prehistoricness than racism. I mean, just, you know, just resorting back to Neanderthal ways. You know, I honest to God, I don't think it mattered what that girl had in her head. She had a phone in her hand. I mean, I imagine it was obviously some sort of an expensive phone, and I guess I'd say it was an iPhone. The 23-year-old saw it, decided she wanted it, and that was that. It didn't matter that she was Muslim or what she had in her head. It was just she wanted the phone. And it could have been, you know, a monkey walking across the road with the phone. It was just a case of that girl wanted the phone.
She just wanted.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at the end of the day, the media hyped it up like, oh, she had a scarf on her head and, oh, the girl made racist comments. But just say it was another Irish girl walking by with a phone in her hands and the 23-year-old hopped on her and say she attacked her and took the phone off her and then said, oh, you fat this and you fat that. Would it be printed? Would it be fat girl attacked? You know, girl attacked because she was fat. No, it wouldn't. What would be printed was Irish girl attacked for a phone.
So you think, well, I suppose that she racially abused her.
Yeah, but I mean, I think she racially abused her because she had a scarf on her head. But I think if she had been Irish and she had, say, red hair...
You think she still would have been attacked, you think?
She would have been attacked, and if she had red hair, she would have been called, you know, you red-headed this. If she had weight on her, she would have been called a fat person. You know, it didn't... Obviously, with the scarf on her head, she got racially attacked. But if she had been Irish with, you know, a pimple on her face, she would have been called spotty.
So you think, you just believe, though, that acts of violence have just flown up?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if I don't know if you've witnessed any attacks in nightclubs or anything, I mean, a girl will always call the other girl a name. You know what I mean? I don't think that's racist. I think that's just what happens. They will always call them a bad name and then attack them. And that's just the way it is. I don't think it has anything to do with racism. Obviously, the girl had a scarf on her head, so therefore was commented on for having a scarf on her head.
So it wasn't because she was Muslim.
It was just a slagging thing.
Okay, Lisa. All right, Lisa, good talking to you.
All right.
Thanks for that. Thank you. Bart, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing, John?
Very good, thanks. There's an awful echo, Bart. You couldn't turn off the radio in the background, could you?
Yeah,
thanks a million. Oh, that's a bad old echo.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Now, Bart, do you believe that some of these attacks over the last, the case of last week and the attacks over the last couple of weeks, are they racist attacks? Do we have a problem with racism in Ireland? And do we need laws to deal with racist attacks?
But you know what, to be absolutely honest, it could have been anybody. It could have been Irish, you know, in that kind of...